All right, SEO this week, episode 209. Hopefully, everyone can hear me. I'm going to assume so. Excuse me. There we go. Looks like I'm all right. Looks like I'm doing good. Sweet. As always, if you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I can see them in my windows, as it were. I know you guys miss me, or some of you claim you miss me with some of the messages that I got. I've been messing around with some of this stuff here. It's been a while. I'll put this back together. There we go. So, burnout's a thing, right? So I running out of ideas, running out of topics, running out of things to do and say and all that madness. And on top of that, we had a few incidents in regards to attacks on the show, myself, and other organizations tied to me from a very motivated person. Don't know what triggered that, but it happened. And as it were, rather than just fanning the fuels of the fire of that situation, we just kind of addressed it head on. And the negative tone, let's just say that the negative tone of how it all happened and everything that was going on with it, and then not in that. It wasn't so much what the person was doing or saying that bothered me. It was more so much of how, and I'll use air quotes, friends were dealing with it in regards to claims that were made. So, again, I didn't even know who this person was, but friends were dealing with it in such as it is, like I had actually somehow brought and caused this conundrum. So I just kind of unplugged from public internet shows for a while, just to kind of make things go a little bit better and make things be a little bit easier. Turn that on. Hopefully that fixes the focus. Anyway, so I've been talking about changing the way the show's going to work and all that stuff, so we're kind of implementing that in a Q&A format. I actually like doing that better anyway. I like talking with you guys and getting questions and answers. That helps me do a couple things. One, I get a little bit better, and I don't have to invent topics, as it were, on a weekly basis. Maybe you guys just aren't interested in said topic, and you can see that with the views. Like, there's some topics that get a lot of views and some topics that don't. So the Q&A format, I think, works is going to work for us. And basically what I'm doing from here on out is pulling questions, typically 5, because I can be kind of long-winded, and that'll carry that 1 hour show, right? So I'll do typically 5 questions that I'll find in different groups or like a Reddit or people will ask me or ask in comments, etc. On YouTube, and I'll save all of those up, and then we'll just do the 5 questions. And if you're on live, you can ask questions in the chat box, and we'll address those also on top of the 5. And then this week I will buy the 1-800 phone number, and then if you want to, you can actually call in as well, which would be really cool. And I get to interact with you guys and gals and understand more about not only what you want, but it just kind of helps me provide a better show for everyone. So we're going to leave it at that. I think that'll help us along and create a show that works best for everybody. In particular, you who are watching, and you can get something out of it for your business. So, as you see in there, be sure to hit the like button. You can hit the like, thumbs up, thumbs down, subscribe, chat, comments, but please interact in one way or another. Like button's easiest. It takes like 0.5 seconds to actually hit one of those like buttons, and we'll be appreciative of you. So with that, why don't we get started with the questions, huh? I did want to mention the updates. So there's the the product review update that kicked in, and then they did a core update in June. And then they said it was a spam update, and then they did another. They're releasing another one, spam update, and then they're releasing on top of that the page experience update, all at the same time. And I saw some mention of the updates inside of the of Facebook and some other groups, basically pointing out that the updates are happening and that Google is not announcing all of them so that they reduce your anxiety, etc. So I think that when Google has to say that we're not going to announce them to reduce your anxiety, they're at the same time they're just building anxiety. So now not only do you get to you understand that you're getting say the core update is coming out, you have the anxiety about that. What are they going to change? How is that going to affect my business? What is the long-term effects? What are the short-term effects, etc. Now you have unannounced updates, and if you've been in SEO for a while, the announced updates are way newer than the unannounced ones, because the unannounced ones just kind of happen all the time. and so I think what we got to do right now is, since we have June, July, and August are essentially going to be the entire update period, in my opinion, implementing the two spam, implementing the product update, implementing the fixes to the product update, implementing the page experience update. The SERPs are just going to bounce like crazy, and everyone's going to see ups and downs, lefts and rights, and there's going to be a constant stream of, is there an update going on? My sites are dropping. Or is there an update going on? My sites are going up. Well, let's answer that question now, from now till June, or now till August. Yes, there's an update going on. And yes, you're going to see movement. So what do we do? Well, first off, as always, I don't make significant major changes right now to your websites and your properties, unless you're doing something for a CRO perspective, because you want to increase your conversion rates. But don't make any significant SEO changes, and just because you want to make sure that your process that you have right now is actually working and effective, etc. And if that means you get ups or you get some stagnation where there's no ranking improvement and there's no ranking decreases, your process is pretty much working. But if you see drops, don't freak out. Let it sit. Let it do its thing. Two reasons. One, the HTML for the search results keeps changing, and no one is more in tune with that than the on-page optimization tool people. And the reason is because they rely on how they read the search engine results page to create some of their correlations, etc. And the same is with rank trackers, where they're adding things inside of the code to change the way the HTML looks to reduce the amount of pull that tools like rank trackers create on the search results. Ergo, your rank trackers more often than not will be wrong, which sucks. And also, and number three is the did I even say number two? I think I did. Yeah. And number three is that the ranks, this fluctuation in the search results is actually pretty significant from search to search, even for the same user and the same IP. As an example, I did a search on WordPress page speed, WordPress speed optimization service, and I was ranked number 33, and I did it again an hour later, and I was ranked number 45. Same computer, same IP, same internet connection, same location, and it's bouncing around like that. So just know that that's going to happen. You're going to see some screwy stuff, and make sure you layer check some of your more important rankings, to make sure that the tools that you're using to do the rank checking is accurate. Okay. So one comment on the spam updates. A lot of people were talking about that, talking about, oh, they're going to find spun content, they're going to find bad content, they're going to find duplicate content. I could tell you, I'm not really close with Kyle Roof, but I am able to locate some of his rhinoplasty lorem ipsum stuff. And what I mean by that is he didn't give me all his. This are all the ones that are ranking right now, right? So but I was able to locate some of them, and most of those are still on page 1, and there are not a small few of those that are actually ranking number 1. Still, with all the updates that have gone up to this point, they're still there. So I don't know how you define spam, but if a website is entirely in Latin and it's still ranking page 1, position 1, I think that the spam update is kind of a failure. So, but we'll see how that goes. And maybe they're just not targeting, content spam. They're just targeting something else. So that could be true too. But we'll see once everything washes out and we run the core reports and the diffs, etc., inside of SIA. Let's see. I think I got hit by a spam update. This is from Elton Musa. 2 days ago, every keyword dropped -3 positions. Yeah, -3 positions. I wouldn't even stress over. That's kind of an error. It's probably something wrong with your rank trackers, or just standard bounce, right? So I wouldn't even call a -3 positions a drop. I just say that's a daily business kind of thing. Leave that and don't worry too much about that. Things will get sorted out soon rather than later. Drops from algorithm updates typically aren't 3 positions. Drops from algorithm updates where they're targeting something that you're doing are typically like you're number 3 and now you're 33, or you're number 4 and now you're 400. those are what I call drops from algorithms, right? If you go from 3 to 6, it could be little miniature factors, not necessarily that you're targeted with spam. It could be that they changed the value of your links. They changed the value of your anchor text. They changed the value of the content, and the norm of the content changed a little bit. And this entity is mentioned more than this entity now, and it changed the tuning a little bit. It changed the way they valued your H tags, etc. So those are, and ultimately those are harder to find too, right? So it's easy to figure out what you did that dropped you from 3 to 33. It's harder to figure out what happened, what changed when you dropped from 3 to 6. And you need a little bit of tool help to pull that off, or just a really significant data analysis nerd that can gather that information for you. All right, so hopefully that was helpful, Elton. Joseph Killer Glasses, thanks. If you notice, like my eyes, I got one eye that it's kind of lazy, right? So it just droops. So it makes my glasses look like they're crooked, and that just annoys the crap out of me. But what's kind of fun is I can sit here and play with my glasses when I'm on calls, and someone else who's have glasses, you can watch them mess around with their glasses. So it's kind of so good down and bad, of looking like Quasimodo sometimes. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe I'll just start wearing them crooked so they look straight. We'll see. It just bugs the hell out of me. All right, so let's get into some more, or some questions, some questions that I gathered. You can see kind of how this is going to go along. Let me know if you can see the Prezzo. I think what I have to do is show, I'm going to do it like this. And you should be able to see that now. The problem is I can't see it, right? So I can see it in Keynote, but I can't see it inside of whatchamacallit, OBS. So there you go. Now I can see it. Let me fix this. Fixing it. There, you guys should get it now. Sweet. make it full screen just because that'll bother me. Ta-da! There you go. All right, so first question. What's your experience with dedicated terms and conditions and glossary pages? So this one actually came out from there's a post going around. I'm not even sure who's doing it. It's like Mike or something like that, something or another. And guys and gals in my mastermind kind of picked up on it and had some questions about it. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, but it's old, but it's interesting, right? And then I was looking on Facebook and saw some references to the same concept inside of Facebook. So I figured, hey, this is probably getting around. So let's address it and give my 2 cents about it, whether you guys agree with it or not. So, what's your experience with dedicated definitions and glossary pages to your main topic? Well, first off, glossary pages in SEO are not new, or websites for that matter. And they're a good way to have one page that you can kind of relate to, and then actually from a SEO internal link building perspective, you can link back to references of that glossary page or of that glossary term inside of the glossary page and say, let's say you're talking about on-page optimization. And I have 5 posts about on-page optimization. On the glossary page, I can go on-page optimization is blah, 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 and then related posts to that underneath that and put my links underneath that as related posts. So I go to the terms, I see glossary, and I see the on-page optimization. Now I see all the links on this website that are related to the on-page optimization. And then I could actually turn around and go link back to every mention of on-page optimization on my website to the actual hashtag section of the terms and definitions page, which is, this is all cool. It sounds exactly like what it would be if you actually had a category. So you had on-page optimization category. All your posts are listed under that category page, and then you optimize that category page for on-page optimization. So now, versus having a terms and conditions single page, I have one category page dedicated to on-page optimization, and it defines it, and then it has all these related posts. So you can knock it out that way. The other way you can do it is actually use tag pages. And tag pages have been used for quite some time. As a matter of fact, a service called WordLift I would want to go with the pioneer of this concept. So they create it with their service. You write your content, it shows the entities, and then it creates these entity pages, this vocabulary on your website. That vocabulary is the same as if you use tags. So on-page optimization would be my tag, and then it would give a definition, and then it would cite another source. WordLift was using Wikipedia when I was using it. And it's a great tool because you can go through there and plug in. You can add new ones, you can optimize, you can clean up, and all that other stuff. And it looks pretty nifty. If you look here, WordLift, you can, it analyzes it. You pick your entity, you tag it, and you create new entities, and you can edit the entities, etc., and plug it all together with all this neat and wonderful stuff. The problem I had with WordLift at the time was I did all of that work, and then if I stopped using the service and I removed the plugin, all those pages were gone. So how do we address that? Well, first off is you can create them again with category pages. You can create an entire piece of content like the terms and definitions if you want to, and get that whole page down, or you can use tags. Which one is more effective? Honestly, in my opinion, I think that the use of the terms and definitions single page, while it sounds good and it sounds like something that you could put together, most users are not going to read through an entire list, especially if you have a comprehensive page like that. So you're going to reduce or lose all of your user generated metrics from there. Two, if you do it like I said, where you have the keyword in there and then the and then the related links underneath it, eventually, depending on the size of your site, you're just gonna have so many backlinks on there that's kind of gonna remove the purpose of having supplemental pages pointing at your websites. Whereas if you have a category page and then your category page keeps, let's say, 10 posts on it and you're sending backlinks to that, it'll refresh, right? And then as it refreshes and it gets recrawled, the links on there will change and kind of spread that across your website, and you'll have some link decay and stuff, obviously. But for the most part, you're accomplishing what you want to do. Unless you create unique category pages. So if you look at a website like Small Business Trends, they create custom category pages where they list out the topic of the category and then set specific pages inside of there that these are my priority pages for this particular topic, and then you can do it that way. So that works as well. Or you can use a service like WordLift. I don't like, especially with the editing and all that stuff. If I'm going to go through all of that, I want it in such a place where I'm doing that work and it's permanent. Whether I pay for your service or not, when I'm done, if I uninstall your plugin, I don't want all my stuff to disappear, right? I've paid for up till now, and I should keep the data and everything that was created up till now when I stop paying for your service. And that's my problem with WordLift back when they do it. Now, is that something that they fixed recently? Is that different now? I'm not entirely sure. I haven't re-signed up on it, but I do know that they launched a new version inside of there and made some updates. So certainly worthwhile checking it out. As a side note, WordLift, Mark from my mastermind and WordLift are the two original sources of information that got me deep into entities and stuff. And that entities stuff sent me down a cool new rabbit hole with schema, and ultimately that's how what ranks in the schema course came across. So that's how that so I'm not dissing WordLift. I'm just saying that that's my issue with that service, but it works. And if you don't care, and if your stuff disappears when you stop paying for it, then knock it out, try it out. Did the same thing happen to you with Inlinks? Yeah, Inlinks, I was just kind of, by the time I got to Inlinks, I already knew to look out for that type of deployment. And because Inlinks is deployed with the JavaScript, it's the same thing. Once you're done with it, I'm pretty sure it goes away. I know that there are some people that raise that with Dixon, and I think if you leave, like WordLift, if you leave the script on there, or in WordLift's case, if you leave the plugin there, it'll stay, right? You can't update, you can't do stuff, but at least the stuff will stay. But if you cancel the service and you're not paying for it, why do you want to have this plugin on there that could potentially be a security update, especially if they decide you don't get new updated versions of the plugin unless you're subscribed? And then you have a security issue, so you have to balance all that stuff out. Okay, so hopefully I covered that. So back to the original question: dedicated terms and position page. I see the idea or the concept behind I'm doing it. I see there being some value behind it, especially if you want to put that page in a position where it can go after rich snippets and stuff. And you don't care that Google will steal your traffic and your answers in order to fulfill that, but you get some branding, as it were, out of that, potentially, maybe kind of dreaming for a sale later. In my opinion, I would go the tags option or the categories option as a better means to pull that all off. So you have a specific tag or you have a specific category that addresses this topic specifically, and then creating that. And over time, as that builds up and stuff, and the things get crawled, and Google learns things about your website and stuff, it increases the relevancy, because instead of having one page about all of these things, you've got 100 pages with the clear definitions on it, as well as citations and related content on your website. So you've essentially answered the query a little bit better, and you've done it a little bit cleaner, and you give a way to actually create some link opportunities, or link flow and crawl flow opportunities throughout your website by having all that internal linking going on. There was a follow-on to this, like the poster part that I saw was talking about how it's no one's teaching that you should interlink like Wikipedia. No one's teaching that stuff. Wake up. People have been doing that for years. There's plenty of people teaching it. No one's saying it again now, because it's kind of like, duh. That's an old concept. Wikipedia is leveraged the idea behind internal linking to the extreme, and I would even argue that there's no focus behind that, really. So you can cite something, like I can do a post about SEO, and I can cite this website about Chinese takeout, and then it'll say I can put a link to the Chinese takeout Wikipedia page. So the internal linking is, it's there. It produces crawl. It gets all of the pages indexed, etc. It gets a new content found, but it's not this brand new, wonderful, and exciting thing that the piece of content that I saw was made out to be. So just be a little bit careful about new things in regards to how they're kind of repackaged, right? Or old things to how they're repackaged. A blueprint is a template. A node and the add ID is just a different type of schema. That kind of stuff. They're great marketing tools, and great marketers will use them. But be great consumers and great marketers yourself, and be able to recognize that stuff. All right. Whew. Blah, blah, blah. All right, number 2. Should schema markup be unique to every single page? This is a question I found, I want to say it was in SEO Signals Lab. So it's actually a good question. So what you're dealing with here is the topic of, can I take one schema? And local business is generally the one that actually happens a lot too. So can I write local business schema and put it across my website? And the answer is yes, you can put it across the entire website. If you know for a fact that business is going to be in this one location, it's never going to create a whole bunch of different locations. And I don't even have to say never. You're not going to do it anytime soon, right? So you can use that local business schema across the entire website. Site search schema, you can use that across the entire website. Organization schema, you can use that across the entire website. And you can use a blueprint, air quote, or templates, air quotes, to whatever the hell you want to create those things and then deploy them across your entire website. Or you can use add ID to connect things out and set up a hierarchy of that. And I teach that in What Ranks. I've taught that for quite some time. Of using the graph style, the same style that Yoast is. It's called @graph, so it plugs it all together. Or I've been issuing new templates using add ID and hierarchy. So I have this web page that has this article. This article has a part of it that has an image, and it also has a part that has a video, and it's all about these things, right? So I've created those templates and stuff, and taught them for quite some time. So you can use those in different orders, right? So let's say we look at What Ranks. Not What Ranks. Hold on. I want to show this one. to show rank gear. So we've updated rank gear now, and I'll actually be loading some templates and stuff in here. But we're going to make a really ugly one. So we have breadcrumb schema. Breadcrumb schema, you can have the same schema across the board, but you want to change some things inside of here, right? So you can do that in here, and that's really just positions. With article schema, you can do the article, you can do the publisher, and the publisher tied together with ad ID would be the organization, right? So let's see, or you can use is part of this publisher is part of this organization, and then you can put that under here, right here, and then tie in the organization with the ad ID if you wanted to, etc. So that's how you use essentially the same schema across your website. So I'm not going to write out an entire schema for you guys. That's a whole nother show altogether. But I can show. Actually, I can't show that example. But you can do that by using the same parts of schema. So you're manually rewriting your schema, but you're not manually rewriting it. If that makes sense, because you've already written your organization schema. You've already written your local business schema. You can write out an article schema and use that as a template. And essentially, once you get used to doing this stuff, you realize that you're only changing maybe 10 or 15 lines in a 2,000 line, well, 2,000 is kind of big, but 250 line schema setup. You only have to change like 15 lines. And it makes manual schema and handwriting schema a lot better for you. And you don't even have to get crazy with it. You don't have to think, overthink a lot of it. It makes it nice, clean. It makes it easy for Google to understand what the page is about, which is what the purpose of schema is to help the machine identify what the page is about. And so when it's doing its analysis, it actually triggers that a little bit better. So hopefully that one helps. If you have any questions on that, let me know. Let's see, what's next? Somebody cloned one of my websites and uploaded it to a weird domain. They then proceeded to change my client's GMB listing to send people to the cloned website. I now have reversed all the changes they made, but what could be the purpose of this? What should we do about it? First off, it wasn't anything about that website. It had nothing to do with that website whatsoever. The entire purpose of that is to take the map, take over the map. Eventually, what could have happened if you weren't monitoring that map is that they had the website, they had the map associated with the new website. They could have sent in a request saying, this is my business, see, this is my website, this is my business, and I don't have control of it anymore because my employee took it. Can you give it to me? And if you weren't active enough and paying attention to your GMB listings, after 7 days, anyone can call up and try to claim your listing if you don't respond to those emails. It's a way to get a hold of maps without having to actually verify the maps. And then and this person actually stumbled on the first part of that entire process. It's a shady, crappy, shitty thing for people to do to businesses, but it's just one of those things that happens. And a reason why you have to be on top of your GMB stuff. And not only this, you got to be on top of the suggested edits. You should get an email for suggested edits. Most times you do not. If you are inside of your GMBs and there's recommended changes and you don't agree with those changes, there is no button that says don't implement these changes. There's only a button that says accept them. And that's kind of crap too. So Google has made this really, really easy to do actually at large scale. So stay on top of your GMB listings. Be aware that is out there, and always make it a weekly thing to go through and just look through and see if there's things that happen to your listings that you may or may not have been actively aware of or alerted to by Google. All right, next. Why should I create a tiered link building strategy using Web2s rather than creating 3 fresh domains of my own and building PBN links to them and linking it to my money site? There isn't in this question, there isn't really a this is better than that kind of thing. So in SIA, we tested some of the Web2s. I can tell you that Blogger is is a no. Don't link from that. Don't use it as a tier 1. We've tested it. You will roast your websites if you do it, right? So Google has fixed that and fixed the way the algorithm responds to that. Kind of sort of did it with WordPress.com, but those tests are still in there, so I can't say one way or another if they're successful. But Blogger, they certainly were. So buying 3 fresh domains and then building PBM links to them, it's actually a sound way to actually build backlinks, right? So you could buy 3 fresh domains, put up single page landers to, support your product or whatever, and then send a link to your specific product and then send PBNs to those. And it's totally something that'll work. Outside of the cost, there's no reason to choose one or the other. I would actually argue that you would probably want to do both of these together because you're one, again, the cost, and then 2 PBN or Web2s are free, and 3 the right Web2s actually generate traffic. In particular, sites like Medium, those rank really well, especially if you do some halfway decent content on there. You can generate traffic to your Web2s through search from the natural ranking ability of that Web2, and then set up your branding and your call to actions to go to your particular website or even directly to your sales page. So there isn't a why would I create other than or rather than. This is more why am I not or should I be doing both? And the question is yes, do both. And this is diversity of your link profile too. You don't want to depend on just Web 2.0s. You don't want to depend on just PBNs. You don't want to depend on just forums. You don't want to depend on just guest posting. You don't want to depend on just one method of link building. You got to combine all that stuff, put it all together, and build a, air quotes, natural link profile. Because random people will use your link on Web2s. Random people may use your link in comments. Random people may use your link in forum posts. Random people will use your link on sites that are someone's PBN and they're not aware. It's just something that's random, that's normal, and then a not random link profile kind of stands out. And algorithmically, I would argue that a math program can be taught to not see or to see through the lack of randomness and maybe potentially hurt a website algorithmically. Alrighty, let's see. Boom. Anyone here with experience with building a comprehensive FAQ page? What do you guys think will be the pros and cons of having a dedicated FAQ page like this? And then the second question, if we have something like this, we added the FAQs from people also asked on other content related to that keyword, cannibalize it, or is cannibalization a myth? So there's a lot to unpack in there, right? So FAQ schema is actually what drives the FAQs inside of the search results. And the implementation was actually done really poorly on the part of Google because they wanted you only to use this FAQ page schema on FAQ pages. People figured out that the snippet would actually fire for individual pages so that you can have 3 or 4 questions underneath your listing if the search results call for an FAQ display. And so Google has gone through and actually taken this feature out at its knees. And now instead of 4 opportunities, you actually only have 2. And the amount of pages or search queries that are showing FAQs has significantly decreased. So in short, You let you populate it. They let you use it. You got some CTR from it. They got some CTR from the ads, and it wasn't keeping enough people onto Google like they thought it would, and so they're reducing the FAQs. And eventually, in my opinion, they're going to eliminate the FAQ from the search results. But that's not to say that it won't continue to drive the people also ask section of that. So, in short, building that comprehensive FAQ page might actually do you a little bit of good, in particular towards users and conversions and stuff like that. Especially for me, in my opinion, when I'm on a SaaS, I want to see what it does, and I look at the FAQs. And learn a little bit more about the ins and outs, and then then I'll buy it as part of my review process. Versus having it on a people also ask kind of situation, which is I have this page, and this is keyword. This questioner used was mindful meditation. They have this page about mindful meditation, and then they're leveraging 4 of the questions that are also used in the FAQ page. And I don't think there'll be any cannibalization there because, one, you're going after a snippet. That's the only reason you're doing FAQ schema is for the ranking benefit, or you're going after the snippet. And 99.9% of people are going after the snippet when they use FAQ schema. So keyword cannibalization is not really an issue because you're filling out the FAQ information in order to rank the page for that keyword. What is it? What is it? Mindful meditation. So you're ranking a page for mindful meditation, and you're using the FAQs inside of there to actually take up more of the search results in regards to that specific thing. And you're only using 4 of them versus your FAQ page that, let's say, has 40 of them. So you're not going to do the cannibalization thing. Isn't going to be an issue. Let's see what else is there. What do you think of the pros and cons of having dedicated? Pros: dedicated pages is actually a little bit easier. You can also potentially get a more of the people also ask pulls to that page inside of the search results, which will increase your branding. And then you make it a little bit easier for the users to see it. Cons: it's a lot of work. The FAQ schema will, potentially work the same, but you're still going to get stuck with the 4 presentations. It's not like you're going to get a whole bunch of people also ask jumping through this. In particular, because a lot of the PAAs come from search pages that are specifically optimized for the related topics and stuff like that. So you might capture a little bit of those, but it's not necessarily going to be a big ranking winner or loser for you. It's just going to be a really good optimized page that is specifically talking about that service. So let's say I do an FAQ page about my SEO services. All right, so I can answer all those questions in there in relation to the link building, the on page, the content optimization, et cetera, and that will make that page. I have just one more piece of content on my site that's related to SEO services, increasing the relevancy of my website. And if I did the FAQ stuff, again, it's going to be a little bit harder to say one way or another if you're going to capture some more of the PAAs. I know that even if you did, you're probably just going to reduce the traffic to your website, and you could probably do some other stuff outside of this specific single one FAQ page that is done for SEO purposes versus the one that's done for users, and leverage more out of that when you think of it from a user perspective versus a SEO perspective. Right? Makes sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. Should be one more. That's the last question. Yeah, that's the last question. Sweet. Good. All right, so that's the last question for this week. If you are again, if you're in the if you're live, you can ask questions, and I'll hit those up. We got 10 more minutes. So there's a question from Elton. Do you use parent organization schema on your branded Web 2.0s, or do you put your main website there? No, I use same as, because I'm writing an article about this particular website. It's owned by this organization. So parent organization is a little bit weird, right? So let's say Elton Musa. You have eltonmusa.com or Elton Musa Industries. And then you also have an agency called Everhart Strauss, right? So your organization is, when you're doing all your stuff, let's say you're doing all your stuff for Everhart Strauss, is your organizational schema will say that. And then you have parent organization that will be Elton Musa. And basically all you're doing is saying that, or here's a good one, Google his parent organization is Alphabet. And that's kind of how that, or the purpose of that parent organization thing is. So if I was doing schema on a Web 2, I would actually have organizations, the same as, and then I would link back to my websites and my other properties inside of that is in that way. I wouldn't use parent organization, because unless I wouldn't even do that. So yeah, I wouldn't use parent organization unless you were specifically in that Google is owned by Alphabet kind of thing, and you're trying to present that out and build both of those brands together. Let's see, any other questions? Didn't you see the same thing happen with English? No, I addressed that one. Any tips for black hat services to clients without them freaking out? That's a good question. At the end of the day, you're actually not competing against your clients. You're competing against white hat SEOs who have successfully vilified everything that works in SEO in order to drive a narrative in regards to white hat and high quality content and writing for users, etc. Right? And I think I've made this argument before, as most of the people that that say that and preach that actually work for big brands. So they have the benefit of being able to do SEO from a brand informational marketing strategy, i.e. all they're worried about is branding. They want to set up content. They use that content in order to get in front of people with problems, with the hope of generating sales in the future. That's essentially the idea of branding. You want to, get people in front of it, get people thinking about it. That way, when they have this problem, they think of your thing and buy. Versus direct response, which is what the 99% of us small business people actually do who are doing SEO. So you got Terry Samuels. Terry Samuels is building Saltera. Saltera does web design, and he creates direct response marketing and uses SEO to do that. So by searching for keywords like web design Scottsdale or Scottsdale web design, and then using direct response marketing inside of the landing page with a call to action to fire and get a buy. So you have to explain those kinds of things to SEOs or to clients when you're talking about SEO, because there are things that are termed white hat, and there are things that are termed black hat inside of their minds, and because of that creative marketing that was used by the white hat crowd to scare everyone away. It's the fact, at the end of the day, it's all about link building, and so if you pitch it in a way that eliminates the hat idea, that it counters the white hat idea of SEO in such a way as I just pointed out to you, the difference between brand institutional marketing and direct response and content marketing is how it applies to content marketing. I have eliminated the idea of white hat versus black hat SEO with my clients. So one, you're a roofer in Dallas. How many blog posts are you going to do about roofing? I would argue to say you're probably not going to do all that many, because one, who cares about blog posts? I'm a roofer. I'm doing roofs. Two, if I want to buy a roof, I am not going to read articles about roofing on my roofer's website. I'm going to go find a roofer and have him come out and talk to them, meet face to face. So I am looking forward to direct response, and that is a problem that a lot of people in our industry have. That line has been blurred, and it's been blurred because of marketers and because they're on the corporate bandwagon, as it were, with Google in order to establish their brand and its trust and authority with the market by saying high quality content. You should always be content, and you should always be doing branding stuff and all that stuff. And it's all not untrue. It's just only part of the pie, and it doesn't apply always to small businesses. Let's see. Do thousands of links from the same domain pass a lot of juice? One of my competitors has 130 referring names and 16,000 backlinks according to Ahrefs. And that might not necessarily be on purpose. So if I have 130 referring domains and 16,000 backlinks, it could be that I have one website. I have 129 of them are one website. One link per website, and then one of those websites has 15,000 pages on it, and somehow I managed to get it site wide. So I don't stress that all too much. That's totally natural, and you can see that across tons of platforms. The referring domains counts for sure. You want to get as many referring domains as possible because that means referring websites are reaching out to you. But if you get one really good referring domain and they keep referring to you across the entire website, then that's not going to hurt you either. All right, it's a good. In my opinion, it actually increases the value of the links from that one domain versus just having a link from that one domain on one page. Are 360 VR videos a positive signal in SEO? That has not been tested, and it would. I would venture to argue that it would be pretty hard to say why they would be. Though they do rank or they do help with user interactions, and user interactions mainly time on site and bounce back. Or ping back is what everyone's calling it now, might reduce that, and that could be a user signal that Google potentially can manage or can view, right? But to say that 360 videos are a signal in SEO, that would be a far-reaching claim that has never been, as far as I'm aware, never been tested or proven. But again, that could help with your time on site, your conversions, clicking around the other pages of your website. You do you're a realtor, for example, you do really good 360 VR videos of your properties, and I see that, and they're loading really fast, and I want to click and watch more. That could be help out, and that would increase your traffic as it goes along, because you get known to be the realtor that kind of does that, right? And so that might all build upon itself to give you an SEO boost. But to say just having them alone, I don't see that being a value. It's kind of like the voice search kind of thing, right? So if your page is optimized for voice search, you're going to get a whole lot of traffic. Everyone and their brother was saying it, even Rand Fishkin, and I was always like, no. It's not going to be as good as you all think it is. You ask questions and answers and that kind of stuff. That's what people are using voice search for. And even Rand Fishkin came back and said, yep, it's voice search isn't a big deal. And I think VR is probably going to be the same thing. In VR, if you're in gaming, if you're in social networks, if you are and you want to do like live VR chats, if you're in that kind of space, VR is awesome. And and go for it. Build that stuff out. Have your conferences in VR, for example. That would be a really cool. That would have been a great thing to have ready when Corona came out. Buy VR, and you all have these little conferences, and you can do the conferences, and you can share papers and all that kind of stuff. That would have been awesome. But from an SEO perspective, I don't see how that would be any benefit. beyond having, or if anything, the same benefit of having a video related to your content on your page being a ranking factor, which it is. It's just not very big. All right. Any more questions? Hope not. I hope so. Well, I don't necessarily hope not. I just don't see any. Cool. Well, for those of you that came on live, I appreciate you. I know I apologize for not being around, but burnout's a thing, man. And I just needed some time away from doing this show and coming up with content ideas and all that. And I've eliminated the need for my imagination by using your questions that I find throughout the week that are really interesting. And I think that everyone would get a benefit out of the answer of. So if you have any questions, leave them in the YouTube comments. I get notified every time someone comments on a YouTube video of mine, and I'll add it to the PowerPoint if it's cool, if I think everyone will benefit from it. Otherwise, I'll just answer it in the comments, and we'll keep doing this. I think it's a lot of fun. I should have the phone thing hooked up. I got to test it one time with someone from. It's not going to cost me a gajillion dollars. I'm going to test it and get the phone working, so you folks can call in if you want to. If no one calls, that's fine. It's just time. It's money I don't have to spend, but it's a cool feature, and I think if it takes off, and we get the show more aware in the community at large, we'll actually be able to address more questions and have more fun versus me using blah blah. What the hell was I saying? Versus me using just a PowerPoint, for example. Dave Pacman uses Discord to call into his show. Interesting. Well, I already just spent the money to find out how to use my phone and how to get an 800 number. So you're too late, NZ Fade. But we'll see. We'll see about Discord. I actually, because I use Skype and Slack, I just kind of been pulled away from Discord. I haven't used it all that much. I'm in Discord channels, just haven't used it. So, all right. Thanks, folks. It's been an hour. I appreciate y'all for coming. Again, thumbs up or thumbs down. It only takes you 0.5 milliseconds to push that button. And I appreciate all of you. And see you next week.